Okay, this time we're going to have a quick look at a couple of third-party apps for reading books on the Mobiscribe wave. So I've installed a couple of apps out of the F-Droid store. There are also versions of these apps on the Play Store. That's Librera and Koreader. You can also grab at least Koreader from GitHub. I've also installed Libby from the Play Store for public library access. And let's have a look at some things. So I've closed down everything except for my home screen launcher here. And this is the first time running the app after install. So Koreader needs permission to use the files. I'm going to grant that permission. And then I'm going to hop back. Pretty standard Android stuff. Didn't go back to the app though, so that's odd. Koreader, let's go again. Oh, we've got an icon. It's working. Okay. They'll be rendered in color on this device. If it's grayscale, you could disable color rendering. Thank you, Koreader. How can we exit this? Well, I appear to be stuck. There's no button. Tapping behind it does nothing. Tapping it does nothing. I have no hardware buttons, and I have no launcher buttons. So that looks like a short test with Koreader. And I'm disappointed because I've used Koreader before on a Kobo Aura H2O, and it's a lovely app. But yeah, I can apparently do nothing here. I finally got, by swiping up from the edges repeatedly, the launcher buttons pop up if I'm swiping repeatedly. So now I've got a back button. Woo! Okay. So if you get stuck like this and nothing's happening, swipe down from the edge until you get your launcher buttons. We've just discovered that tip together. So there we are. So now I'm in Koreader. And it has been a while since I used it. I know that I should get... I know I have screen zones, usually. In Koreader. Okay. Nothing seems to be happening no matter where I tap. The way Koreader is meant to work, and the way it worked on a Kobo, is that, you know, you tap different quadrants of the screen or the middle of the top of the screen, different parts of the screen to give you different pop-ups of commands and menus. I'm tapping firmly and I'm getting no pagination and no menu commands, nothing. Even if I tap it just appears to be frozen. On the quick start guide, I'm typing quite hard. The table of content links, the whole interface is frozen. So that's our first launch of Koreader that very disappointingly seems to be frozen. Let's give it one more try. Sometimes it seems like on this device, the first time you launch an app, it goes a little kablooey, and then after that it gets a hold of itself and works better. Oh, look! And here we are. Okay, this is promising. So that seems to be a quirk of the Mobiscribe device, is that on the first launch, a number of apps will hang. And so if you can close them and get back in sometimes, then they're fine. So let's let Koreader look in the folder where the books are. So I can see my whole folder structure here for the books folder. And let's open up the user manual for the Mobiscribe Wave. Here we go. We've got a PDF open. You can see the little progress bar at the bottom with little chapter marks and things. But we don't seem to have any navigation going on. Tapping's going nowhere. Scrolling is going nowhere. It seems like once you get into a PDF on the Mobiscribe Wave, that Koreader is just not responding to anything. That's disappointing. But thankfully, we can swipe down from the top and use the system launcher to close it. Well, that saves us from rebooting. A few times before I discovered that shortcut, I would reboot the whole device to get out of a hung app. So, Koreader seems to have some issues with this device. That is disappointing. Librera, I quite like that it has a lot of customization and it has more fonts than the default app. I have used it, but here I have reinstalled it from scratch to show you guys. So here we go. It's scanning my library here. So for example, and you can do things like change the view. There are more view options to show you more, amounts of information on the screen at once, which is kind of nice. It's overall a nice app, and you can also, sort by author, just do the author directory list. You can do a lot of cool stuff. You can set up extra folders. When you go into the settings pane here, there are a lot of options. It pays to take your time and, look them over. You can set up profiles for different use cases, which is kind of cool. And then there's a little link here for library settings. And you can set some defaults here about whether it's going to look at metadata, whether it's going to, do the last name first, the first name last, whether it's going to show the book description. This is kind of nice. It's one of those apps that it's really nice, and it's got everything, including the kitchen sink, and then you have to really look to see. You have to take your time and acquaint yourself with the options. But, for example, let's go down here and find a book. And it has different reading modes, which are also pretty cool. So for example, it has a book mode, it has the scroll mode, and it also has a sheet music mode, which could be lovely if you want to use it on an e-ink device on a music stand. Let's get in here a couple pages to the prologue or something. By the way, if you haven't read T. Kingfisher, and you like feel-good fantasy and a sense of humor, I highly recommend. I highly recommend. So, when you come here and you tap in the middle, you get a little pop-up bar at the top that has some options like day mode, night mode, which is like a dark mode, so forth. And at the bottom you get some things like going back to your library, putting a bookmark, different odds and ends. You click the little cogwheel gear, you can change the font and the font size. And the magnificent thing is, unlike the built-in app where you only get like 3 fonts, you do get more fonts. And Librera lets you configure them for regular text, for bold text, solid italic headings. If you want to get that granular in particular, you can knock yourself out. So here you can see it actually sees all of the fonts that are in the system folder. And so you can select a different font. You can select a bolder font if you need to. It's so much better for accessibility, for helping your eyesight. You can change the font size if you need a larger font, a smaller font. It's just wonderful. I really wish that the built-in default reading app, which is otherwise nice because you can annotate, I really wish that it had that ability to see more than 3 fonts. It's my largest objection to it so far. Of course, this book is being stubborn. Some EPUBs do not want you to change the font. Here we go. It stuck that time. So now you can see we're on a different font. And then if we kick it up a couple 3 notches, there you go. Look how nice and clear that is. It just, having so many choices and being able to change the bold, it's really wonderful and increases usability. So I've read a couple books using Librera on this device with no appreciable issues. Gonna just close it here. So Koreader does not seem to play well. Librera is great so far once you spend some time and acquaint yourself with all those options. And then let's have a look at Libby. Libby is used in the USA and a lot of other countries for public library access if you have a library card. Not in every place in the world, not in every country or region, but in a lot of places you can use your library card to check out ebooks from your local public library. I don't have anything on my shelf at the moment, but I have been able to log in here. And here we go. I'm at my public library, and you can, browse around. You can look at whatever categories and features your library has available at the moment of current ebooks. You can see a lot of stuff here. So let's have a look at a book. Here's an Andy Weir book, which I think is a new thing. Let's see if it's checked out by everyone else or if I can go ahead and borrow it. And Libby looks pretty good. It's pretty readable and clear out of the box. Come on. Here we go. So we get the little pop-up down here. Oh, there are copies available. And here we go. I've got my summary. I'm going to borrow this book for 14 days. And now it's done, and here it is. It's on my shelf. Simple as that. So I've got a book on my shelf. And borrowed today, tells you your due date and all that. Here we go. Would I like to read this book? Yes, I would like to read it on Libby, not send it to a Kindle. And takes a little bit to download. I am on Wi-Fi because it's downloading it from the network. And here we go. Let me just raise this up a bit to help you see. And we're reading. I haven't set any optimization settings. I haven't, done any tinkering, adjusted the font, adjusted anything. And I'm pleased that out of the box, it's more readable than many other apps on this device. I will still change this font, and I will still, tweak things. But, out of the box, it's working. Quite readable. No issue connecting to my library card. So yeah, you tap in the middle, you get your pop-up with your navigation showing your chapters and sections. You can come up here at the top and you can do some font adjustments and you can do some searching. But yeah, I'm digging it. And then you've even got a little bookmark ribbon here that you can tap and set a bookmark in a spot, unbookmark. So that's Libby. Libby seems pretty great. It just peps up. It hasn't. Libby is one of the few apps as well. It hasn't crashed. It didn't have that first startup crash and freeze that some of the other apps has. Bravo to the Overdrive Libby team. So that's a quick look at a few third-party readers.